Have you been following us for the past 2 weeks? I hope so. I hope so. Because in the past 2 weeks, we have shown you how to find your purpose as a podcaster. We've shown you how to build your resilience as a podcaster. Excuse me. Your resilience as a podcaster. Although it might be a little resistance you might need.
I was
But
gonna say you gotta resist that stopping and staying and pausing and because it's time to go.
that's right. Exactly. But now we at the trifecta.
Hmm.
You're probably wondering, how can I become an outstanding podcaster? What is the art to mastering that? Well, you really have to ask yourself three questions when it comes down to you're in the groove of podcasting and you're doing this thing. Are you struggling to find interesting things to talk about? Are you talking about the same things as the same ways as other podcasters? And three, finally, are your guests starting to feel like synonyms? Does everything seem to be the same? It's blah, it's boring. That's not standing out. We're here to teach you how to stand out. We teach you how to rise above the fray, the humdrum, the run of the mill, because you are not run of the mill. You are not humdrum. You are not the fray. You are the exception to the rule.
Ooh.
And we're here to teach you how to consistently be the exception to the rule and be an outstanding podcaster. And there's really two people who can teach you how to do that. One being Marion.
Hey, and one being Joe.
And I am a podcast pro.
There it is. There it is. Parole. That would be the P to the R to the O. That P is purposeful. Listen, your purpose makes you unforgettable. Share it boldly. Your resilience, every challenge strengthens your unique voice. Keep going. Outstanding. That O, outstanding. Stand out by unapologetically being you.
That's right.
That's all I got.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So, perfect segue. Marion, you said outstanding.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the key word for tonight. Key word
Hmm.
right there. And in order to be outstanding, it's a particular buzzword that you're going to hear a lot from us tonight, and that is diversify. Diversify.
Listen,
So
I
let's.
heard diversify when they say diversify your portfolio.
Uh-huh.
So, how you using diversive? How
And
you gonna weave this in?
well, I'm very glad that you said that. I'm very glad that you teed it up like that because that's actually the inspiration for using the word diversify. Because if you look at it from a money management standpoint, diversifying your portfolio, the simplest way to really put it is spreading the wealth. You'll hear people say the expression, don't put your eggs all in one basket.
Come on.
And when it comes down to diversifying your profile, your portfolio as a podcaster, you have all of this different types of wealth that you can spread around from all of the resources, from all of the abilities, from all of the people that you know, all of the things that you could possibly talk about, your interests, what you bring to that table as a podcaster will help you to really diversify everything that you possibly can so you could spread it across a wide range of abilities and angles and all of these different things in order to really stand out from everybody else who's doing it. Because again, like we said last week, everybody doing this, everybody doing it. But how do you say something? Because what?
We're not giving up on you.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So, man,
Yes.
this first one that's up to bat, I'm going to pose the question to you. Have you been in a position as a podcaster where you felt like you were struggling to find something interesting to talk about?
Wow. So you're talking about by diversifying the topics
Yes, that's right. That's right.
of the episode.
That's right.
That right there, struggling to do that is when I had to stop myself from saying, I don't know and I can't. Have you ever seen, what movie is that? Love and Basketball.
Oh, yeah.
And he cursed the young son when he was young, the star, the male star, when he was young, he looked at his dad or he looked at his parents and he cussed and said, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And his mother was looking at the father like, you need to get him. I got it. He didn't address the cuss word.
Mm-hmm.
What I tell you about saying I can't?
Mm-hmm.
Because that right there in itself will stop you. That will definitely make it a struggle for you if you're already deciding, yeah, I ain't gonna be able to figure this one out.
That's the real curse word. I can't is probably a worse curse word than anything else he could have said.
That part. So just in that, that'll help to move it to not make it such a struggle for you in the sense of I can't find it.
Mm-hmm.
But to talk about something that's challenging you, or you can't use the word, is a struggle for you, a stretch for you, unfamiliar territory.
I like that.
Yeah, that for me, I can say, yeah, that's something where I had to understand. In doing Confident You podcast, I literally had to make the choice. Okay, this confidence spans over all areas of life.
Mm-hmm.
And it couldn't just be the things that were familiar to me. So I had to be bold enough to go into uncharted territory because I was not concerned about me. I was concerned about my why, which was building the confidence of my audience. My audience was diversified. So that diversity of my audience made it so that, okay, well, we're also going to talk about this.
Yeah.
And that this, most people wouldn't, I've never seen it on a confident podcast, a podcast about mindset and confidence where the guest is actually there to discuss something that's life altering, mind altering. It affects your thinking. It can change just the trajectory of your life. It's very devastating to families, individuals, and families. And this was domestic violence.
Yeah.
So my first episode was Fighting for Victory was the title. And it was the subtitle was Breaking the Silence and Empowering the Survivors. That was, and it was with Tiffany Santana was my guest, who is the head person at Bethany House, where that's a place for domestic violence, domestic abused women and children to go. Just having that conversation, that was new for me.
Yeah.
That for me, by the grace of God, I don't think anybody can say, oh, you can say that'll never happen to me, but guess what? You never know where the hand of God protected you.
That's
because
right.
you wasn't built for that. But then there are some people, not that they were created for that, but there is that resilience within them to survive through that. That was a topic that I had to boldly think through as a host. How am I going to address this? Well, I not only addressed how they could get connected, the women can get away from their abuser, and how they can get connected to this program and then what this program offers, I posed the question that at the moment I literally said this may not be like received well or understood, but now what are we going to do about those men who actually do the abusing?
Mm-hmm.
Because you'll just be saving the next victim
Yeah.
if we don't address them as well.
Yeah.
And she literally said, no, we're looking into getting, I couldn't believe it. It
Yeah.
was something we had not discussed. I didn't know how that was going to turn because it could have gotten volatile if it was something that was offensive
Mm-hmm.
to her. But I made sure that when I posed the question, I kind of prefaced it as, this is a tough one. This might not sound right. But
Yeah.
I need to know, because as you're taking in these women, there could be another woman, but as you're taking in these children, that's still their father.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we make it better for them? And
Yeah.
that's where you have to be bold to venture beyond what's comfortable to you.
Yes. Yes.
You got to be comfortable enough to venture beyond that. And then I followed it up, and that was like episode 14 of
Mm-hmm.
Confident You podcast. And that next episode, I actually followed it up with a victim, a survivor
Wow.
of domestic violence, just asking her how it happened, how she made it through, how it's impacting her kids, now her new husband, how does that impact it, the changes she had to make within herself, because even though you're a victim, it's actually sculpting and making the person who you are. It's making your thinking. It's making your judgment. It's making your responses. It's making your understanding of things. It's building and creating who you are. Whatever you're doing, that's what it happens. And so that was episode 15. And it was pain. I am here to collect. I was so honored to be speaking with DeAndrea Jones in that episode, and for her to come on for the first time ever in her life and share her story. The podcasting as a host, you may think, oh, I'm just going from episode to episode to episode. Each
Mm-hmm.
episode, it's going to impact you. It's up to you how it impacts you, but that now makes me look at things a little different in the realm of domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
So, I identified something that I wasn't familiar with. I got familiar with it beyond just the regular things that people, oh, that I'll never, he ain't never gonna hit me. That'll never happen to me. Da. No, I had to, make sure that it was a clear space to have open dialogue,
Mm-hmm.
to actually unpack these things in a way that prayerfully, if it impacted one person,
Yeah.
then it was a great blessing for me. I'm sorry, the topic itself, just to get that diversity topic
Yeah.
and confidence on a confident you, a mindset kind of platform, that I just thought that was amazing. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
not the only, that's just an example of a drastic way of having a diverse topic. You just took me, now I'm back in the episode. Like, whoa,
No,
them joints was,
that's
them
perfect.
joints was heavy.
Yeah, but
But
it's perfect. It's perfect because you covered how you were able to be bold enough to talk about something like that, because that's not a topic. It's never an easy topic to talk about. And although I've seen people talk about it on podcasts, it's not something that's comfortable, specifically in our community, in the Black community. It's never easy to talk about those things.
That's
and
right.
To be nuanced enough to not only have it from the perspective of somebody who helps the victims, but also to have a victim. Like, that adds different perspectives, vantage points, layers onto the same topic so that the community doesn't feel like, oh, it's only coming from one perspective. You get it from multiple perspectives. And I feel like that's where you add those pieces to the puzzle. You complete the puzzle that way. So I think the example really lays it out in terms of, especially for those watching, how you make that outstanding. Like, I mean, just the description of it, I don't see how anybody can listen to that example and not go back
and
to
watch
those
the
episodes and watch the episodes. It's like,
right.
Okay, yeah, let's as my man Warner Wolf used to say, let's go to the videotape.
Let me say, yes. I'm gonna make sure I put it in the description box. Those episodes were very impactful. If you've never been a victim of this, it's interesting. They even that first episode 14, she gives you some signs to look for.
Yes.
And she also gives you some numbers and places they can go for help. It's some very helpful information. And then just to hear the young lady's story, it just helps you to have a better mindset of how everything plays out.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's a perfect segue into the next part. And that is, like you talked about, diversifying your topics. But also, the reason why it's a perfect segue is the angle that you came from with that whole topic. You were able to diversify your angles. And, a lot of times, especially in the social media era, we think about angles. We didn't think about math. We think about, hold on, let me make sure this jump shows my best side, and all of that, and make sure, hey, if I'm a little heavier today, maybe this angle will make me look a little slimmer. Or what I'm saying, maybe if I wear this black real quick, and
slim me down.
Angle, slim me down. Like, I'm feeling good today.
That's amazing, because I don't even know, you talking about angles, and like I still haven't mastered. I'm like, what? I look like me. They're like, no. I'm like, no, I'm cute at every angle. What are we talking about?
I hear that.
What are we talking about? What? I'm sorry. I apologize. Go ahead.
But that's exactly the point. You said I look good. I look cute no matter what angle it is. And as a podcaster, I think that is very much the way that you have to go into it, but you also have to ask yourself this question. Am I talking about the same topics, same subjects as everyone else, in the same ways as everyone else? And I can't, I'm a sports guy. I reference sports all the time. And one of the things that grinds my gears a lot of times is that when I watch, especially football shows, when I watch a lot of these football shows, they talk about the same stuff in the same ways. I mean, it's just like they just reading off one script a lot of times. You get your people out there that are a little bit more dynamic with what they talk about, and they'll talk about it in a different way. Like if somebody is talking about a game that just happened and they just talk about the surface stuff of the game, but then you get somebody who's an analyst and they break down different plays. They break down the different formations that an offense is going in, a different formation that the defense is going in, all of these different things that the average viewer isn't paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
Those are like the different angles that you can come from in order to make the same game that everybody's been talking about for the last 6 hours. That's how you make it different. You are coming from a completely different perspective, because when you really think about the angles, when we look at it from the perspective of when we take in our phones and we're holding our camera in a certain way, it's the perspective. It's the way that the lens is pointed at you. It's the way that the lens is pointed at whatever the subject is. When it comes down to it, as a podcaster, you are the lens. It is coming through your eye, how you see it. So you can control how innovative you can be. Like, I mean, think about your example, Marion. You came from it in a way that honestly I haven't heard anybody, or I haven't seen anybody do. And it's not to say that it hasn't been done before or the topic hasn't been talked about before, but when you're talking about being innovative, you have to talk about something, whether it's something everybody's talking about or nobody's talking about. And really going back to being bold to talk about those things that people aren't talking about. But let's just say, for the sake of the argument, that it's something that everybody's talking about. You have to, that innovation has to come into play. What makes you, what makes you outstanding, what makes you special. That's when you have to get imaginative and say, you know what? I'll give you an example. Everybody's talking about Kendrick Lamar's new album. Cool. How can I talk about this album in a way that nobody else is talking about it? How can I break this particular song down in a way that nobody's addressing? How can I talk about specifically, like I think about probably the song that gets talked about the most from that album called Reincarnated. That's to an old Tupac beat. I think it's, I forget what the name of the song is. I think it's might be Made Man or something like that. Oh, it's Made Something. I can't say it. But it's an old Tupac song.
It took me a moment.
Yeah. I ain't gonna say it, but he channels the energy of Tupac and talks about something totally different than Tupac would have talked about, in a way that, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if Tupac would have had the boldness to do it. I think he kind of would have, but Kendrick's is just a different beast. But to the point, I'm making a point on top of a point on top of a point.
Come on.
Kendrick took a beat that was already done, channeled the energy of a rapper who's already been here, who's gone, and talked about something from a particular vantage point through his lens that people, I can't tell you how many people talk about this one song on Threads, and everybody has a different point of view. But then you have a lot of people who have the same point of view, but then people argue that that point of view is not the correct point of view. Like, oh, he's not talking about that. That's the point. Every interpretation. It's your interpretation at the end of the day. Whatever the topic is, bring your interpretation to it. It doesn't necessarily have to be quote unquote right or wrong. Now, granted, make sure it's informed. Please make sure it's informed. Let's start there. But because there's nothing worse than uninformed opinions. It's,
that fake news.
Right. Everybody will say, "Oh, I'm entitled to my opinion." I'm like, yes, but you are entitled to be informed in your opinion as well.
That part.
You are required to be informed with your opinion. Otherwise, it's reckless presentation of information. But I digress. But you want me to rewind on that one?
I need a minute.
Okay.
You hurt my feelings.
Why? Why would I do
that? Joint is deep. Say that again.
You mean the reckless presentation of information? That part?
Ooh.
Not making sure that your opinion is informed and backed up with facts is a reckless presentation of information. Because when you come down to the whole thing of, you hear people say all the time, information is power.
Yes.
They forget the key word in that saying.
Ha.
Applied information is power. And if the information that people are getting from you, from whatever topic that you are breaking down, that you are being innovative about, and it's not all the way informed, then how are you helping your community? You're not.
Not how you helping your community. How are you hurting your community?
Exactly. That's right. That's right.
We have a responsibility.
That's right.
When I was going off in the camera, I was like, we have a responsibility.
Yes, we do.
We have a responsibility as guest hosts, communicators, speakers, authorities. We have a responsibility.
Yes. Yes.
The people that you're informing, They're God's creation.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful.
That's right. That's right. And that's important. The word responsibility is important because that's another way that you stand out as a podcaster, because we have a lot of irresponsible podcasting going on right now. And look, I'm just going to call it what it is. I'm going to speak on it. I'm speak quickly on and move on. But there's a lot of irresponsible podcasting. And one of the things that we would implore of each and one of you that is watching this right now, to take what you do seriously. That's how you can be innovative.
Yeah.
And that's also how you can be inspired, because it's okay to peek your head out of your rabbit hole and look around and see what else is going on.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people will just focus on what they have. They're very linear in thought. They like, look, I have my podcast. That's it. Okay, that's cool. You have your podcast, but how do you make yourself better?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying to measure yourself or compare yourself or be controlled by what other people are doing. That's not what either one of us are saying. But what we are saying is you get better by studying the best. The people that I admire the most, I study. I see what they do. I study how they ask questions. I study the type of topics that they come with. I study how the angles that they come from with those topics. But in doing my research on how they do it, if I decide to talk about that same topic, it goes back to episodes that we've covered before in terms of how you ask questions. I'm going to come from a completely different angle and ask completely different questions than what has been asked to that person before, or what has been asked of that particular subject before. Because otherwise, if I'm not doing that, then I'm just regurgitating what's already there. They can go to that other podcast if they want that same question. Them other 5 podcasts, them other 10 podcasts, if they want that same question. If they're coming to me, if they're coming to Marion,
right,
they want something different. If they're coming to you, they want something different, because you are you. Marion is Marion.
And Joe is Joe. What did Joe just say? You want to learn from the best. Let me tell you, oddly enough, you can also learn from the worst.
Exactly. Exactly the point I was getting at as well. Come on, Mary, talk about it.
You can learn what not to do very easily.
Yep.
Because if you're sitting there and within the first 2 minutes, all you can say, I would never, why, how, don't, please, stop, not again, what? If all of that happens, then yes.
Yeah.
Definitely yes.
Yeah.
Not no, but yes. You can learn what to do and what not to do. From someone doing it correctly and from someone not doing it so great, in your opinion. Because let me tell you something, even they have a community that wants to hear it.
Right.
I was going to say here that tomfoolery. But what's tomfoolery to me is a boo to somebody else.
That's right. That's right.
Somebody else loves Tom. Somebody come here.
Right.
Change my last name to Foolery because I want to be with you. I do.
Right. All right.
To things I say I don't do, there are plenty of people that say I do. And that's their thing. I don't knock anybody's thing.
That's right.
I just want to make sure the people that we are catering to and grooming to, that we're responsible.
Yes, absolutely.
With the information that we provide. Because it's a service.
That's right. That part. And I'm glad that you brought up the word responsible again, and the fact that what we do is a service to the community, because part of that service to the community, we've already talked about diversifying the topics. We've talked about diversifying the angles of those topics. But there's one last part of that. And if y'all notice, like I'm the acronym king. T-A, and then there's one more. Diversify your guests. Man.
Yes, sir.
You probably don't struggle with this.
No.
You probably don't struggle with this. But how have you consciously kept yourself or kept it so on Confident You podcast that you didn't feel like your guests were starting to become synonyms?
Wow, just the way you posed that. Okay. The first thing I do is, in diversifying the guests, I make sure it's diversified. Even though I talked to 3 people that did branding, I hit each one of them differently. I didn't talk about the same thing with one, then I did the other, and then as I did with the next.
Yeah.
That's number one. And so those were 3 different doing the same. They were all branding and marketing. 3 different. But I had already talked with them, and in talking with them, having that pre-episode conversation, and looking at their social media, I said, oh, okay, this is the angle I'm coming from. And then in doing that, I went to what's relevant, what's going on right now in the times, what's something that will, as I mentioned before, I talked about domestic violence. You wouldn't believe the day that we went live for that domestic violence video. Tina Turner passed away.
That's right.
So you always have to keep your ear to what's going on, the pulse of the world, to see how you can then, I took that.
That's timely.
To preface the episode.
Yeah.
This is, first, let's give homage to who passed away today. That was Tina Turner.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be discussing. Mind you, I knew I was talking to her a month ahead of time. Tina Turner passed away that day.
Yeah.
So I said, I would be so wrong. There's no other word for it. I would be wrong if I did not highlight a survivor that the whole world knows about. Because we were talking about surviving.
Yeah.
So in that's how just making sure that the guest stands out with how I'm presenting what they're doing.
Yeah.
Their specialty, their niche, their business, their service to the world, I made sure that it stood out with how I presented the episode. So if it would not have been Tina Turner that day, if that would not have been that day, then I would have I can't remember what other way, how I was going to come at presenting this to make sure that people felt connected to the topic and interested to hear, what does this authority have to say about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are they about to get into and discuss? So that's how I made sure that I was open to what was going on, in terms of open to the conversation, the information that was going to be shared, because it's very important that you really pay attention to the opportunity that you have for your community to learn and grow,
Yes.
as well as pay attention for the opportunity for your guests to share something that they never even knew was going to be, this was going to be the platform, time, and place to share that. Because in looking up Tiffany's, looking at her social media, I found that Obama had come to her house.
Oh, wow.
There was a picture of her, her mother, her husband, no, her mother, her husband, I think her dad, but Obama was clearly at a dinner table in a regular, not regular, but in someone's home that wasn't the White House.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And I said, oh, no, wait. We're going to get to what we're going to get to. But I got something we're going to get. She was so floored.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something you want to make sure if there's something out there special you can find out about your guests, present that. Listen to them, about them, and watch them lose it as a fan over themselves.
That's right.
Because they're going to be like, I did do, yes, you did that.
Yeah.
I said, how did he? I said, first, I want you to go around this table. But I want you to start and go to your, I said, come this way. And it end up right there. Because I wanted her to hit Obama's chair last. Because I said, explain to me. Where is this, our dinner table? I don't understand. What are y'all doing? Praying. Because before he left, I said, can we pray?
Yeah.
Then I said, how did he get to your dinner table?
Yeah.
That in itself, you find something interesting about your guest. That just it just like, wait, so this is really about, it's really about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's about you as the person and you as the server.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So it's your personal self and your service self, because that's what Confident You, that was the format, that was the platform, that's how it was running at the time. And it was very important to me that my guests felt special.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Your personal self and your server self, because really, when it boils down to it, everything that we do in terms of cultivating the person behind the mic is cultivating the personal self, the server self.
Yeah.
Because you, when it comes down to bringing it back to being outstanding, it has to come down to you as the person God made you to be, because you are special. He created you special in your own way, with all of your nuances and idiosyncrasies and all of these different things that make you, the quirks, the things that you don't even realize are important to the dynamic of your product as a podcaster, as a podcast, your podcast being the product. But then there's also the server self. You are doing a service to your community. And in doing that, the way that you best serve your community is to bring your most authentic self to the table. You're doing a massive disservice if you're not. Don't cheat your community out of you.
Yeah.
Whatever questions that you have that you might think, oh, that's a weird question, or that's a stupid question, or I've never heard anybody ask that question, or I haven't seen anybody ask this person this particular question. Like, listen to all the things that Marion just said. That's exactly how you stand out. Marion literally ran it down. She diversified the topic. She diversified the angle of how she was going to talk about that topic. And this is something you said that jumped out the most to me. You prayed with her. You prayed with her. That's a different angle. If you have that tool in your tool bag, use it. Like, we tell you to use it, because that's how you become an outstanding podcaster. That is the outstanding podcasting. Every tool that you have in your toolbox, use it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just gonna rust.
It actually, besides it rusting, so I'm gonna add to the rust. You're not gonna know all of the attributes of that tool if you don't start using it at the level that you know you can use it right now.
That's right. That's right.
It can't be challenged to show you more
Mm-hmm.
if you don't use it.
That's right.
You can't be challenged to show you more
Mm-hmm.
if you're not doing anything.
Right.
You can't rise to a greater you if you're not doing what you can do right now.
Right. Yes.
How you can't just go in the gym and lift 200 pounds. You got to
No.
start somewhere if
Mm-hmm.
that's your goal. Whatever
Right.
your goal is.
That's right.
Whatever your goal is, you have to start somewhere. What better place to start than where you are right
That's right.
now?
That's right. That's right. Like my man, I think it was my man Robert Townsend in the Five Heartbeats. Like, work it, JT, work it. You gotta work that muscle, work that tool, strengthen it,
You,
sharpen it,
you,
make it better.
and that's how you're out. That's how you stand out as
That's
your
right.
unique, bold, unapologetic self.
That's right.
That's how you do that thing. Joe, go ahead and tell the people how they can reach us.
Oh, it's very simple. Very simple. We're on Instagram at I am a podcast pro. We have a Facebook group, I am a podcast pro, with Marion and Joe. Go ahead and join that group as well. If you are not already subscribed to us right here on YouTube, I mean, you've been watching the whole episode. You might as well just go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification. So whenever we go live, you be one of the first ones to know. You ain't got to wait for us to post about it on Instagram or Facebook. Like, you already subscribed. And while you're at it, if you love this content that we have for you tonight, if you love our past content, make sure that you like it, comment on it, engage with us. We engage back and share. If it's valuable to you, let it be valuable to somebody else, especially somebody else that's on the same path as you, that's looking to get better at this art of podcasting. Because when it comes down to it, we want to help you to be in a position to own and mean when you say, I am a podcast pro.
Pro, P-R-O, purposeful, resilient, and outstanding as your unique self. Be bold in it.
Yes.
You got this.